How do you conduct Agile Sprint Reviews? Hey there, my name is Josh Fector. I'm one of the founders here at Product HQ. And in this video, I'll talk about why Agile Sprint Reviews are important, how to conduct one successfully, and more. But before we get into that, make sure to hit the subscribe button to get notifications whenever we release new videos on product management. And that way you can stay up to date with how to become great at creating great products. Now let's go ahead and jump in, and we'll start by defining an Agile Sprint Review. So we know that a sprint is a 2-week burst of work in the lightweight Agile framework of product development, such as Scrum. A sprint review is an Agile ceremony that takes place at the end of one sprint before beginning the next one. And during the sprint review, the product owner, Scrum manager, and team members present the work they completed during the sprint to external stakeholders for feedback. And the participants then look over that feedback for better strategies and make any necessary adjustments to their roadmap before beginning the next sprint. And before diving into the event itself, let's talk about how to prepare for a sprint review. As we know, the sprint review is a team's chance to present their accomplishments to external shareholders and the team member population as a whole. Therefore, the product owner should communicate to teams ahead of time which demonstrations that they need, and the Scrum manager should help the development team prepare. And this can be through designing presentations, running extensive tests on new features, and debugging. This way, team members can perfect their presentations ahead of time when stakes are low. And any faulty demonstrations could cast a negative impression on shareholders or harm motivation among the teams. Before a sprint review, the product owner should also create a detailed agenda. And sprint reviews should be limited to 1 hour per sprint week, and a meeting agenda is great for keeping the team on track. This includes providing a venue, inviting participants, and securing any equipment necessary for demonstrations, such as computers and appropriate software, whether that be Zoom or Google Hangouts. And this brings me to the next tip for planning a successful sprint review. And that is, know when a backlog item is considered complete. It's important to never present a work in progress at a sprint review. The sprint review is for completed user stories only. To ensure that the backlog items presented have been completed, the product owner should have concrete acceptance criteria for any given user story. Software built for Agile development, such as Jira, have fields to enter acceptance criteria and make the process a bit easier. If quality assurance is integrated into a company's workflow, the work presented at a sprint review is always without doubt, and no incomplete items will appear in front of the external stakeholders. If any items are incomplete, it could also mean delays in future sprints, which harm both schedules and budgets. Once the preparation has been laid for the Agile ceremony, how do you begin the sprint review? Well, the best way to begin the sprint review is to have the product owner establish expectations for the work accomplished. And product owners can set expectations ahead of time through correspondence with stakeholders and stand-ups with team members. But expectations can also be set through contextual clues. For example, the product owner wants to establish expectations for a successful user feature in software. They can have the demonstration set up when the meeting's participants arrive. In this way, it's clear to everyone upon arrival that the anticipated backlog item was successfully completed during the sprint. And the sprint review officially begins with the product owner introducing the teams and stakeholders. Because sprint reviews are typically informal meetings, the focus should be live conversation. The product owner and Scrum manager should be excellent communicators who can set an appropriate tone for a sprint review, as well as facilitate productive conversation. And the sprint review should be used as a celebration of the team's accomplishments. So we recommend keeping a positive, lively tone throughout the meeting. Okay, so the participants have been introduced and leaders have set an appropriate tone. Now what comes next? Well, now it's time for the product owner and Scrum teams to demonstrate a new user story to the stakeholders. And sure, that sounds easy enough, but it's crucial that the product owner uses this opportunity to explain the new user experience in terms of broader company vision. So once the product functionality has been established, the product owner should explain how this demonstrated feature benefits the customer or user experience. Then the product owner should go further and explain to stakeholders how this new customer experience benefits the business as a whole. And demonstrating the value added by a particular user story is an effective way to please stakeholders, and it also helps to generate team motivation and a broader company alignment and buy-in. Scrum Masters can use graphics called Scrum artifacts to illustrate the importance of backlog achievements. For example, product increments are used by Scrum Masters to showcase all the backlog items completed during a sprint. And once work has been shown, the product owner, Scrum manager, and teams must answer any questions that stakeholders may have. The stakeholders have insights on prospective customers, competitors, in the industry at hand. And their questions do vary on the scale from minor product features to issues as large as a greater company vision. In addition to straightforward questions, stakeholders also provide feedback to all parties at a sprint review. And stakeholders may give feedback to the product owner regarding the backlog, and they may give feedback to the Scrum manager regarding blockages, sprint goals, and budgets. And they may give feedback to team members regarding their work performed or the minutiae of the user stories. During a sprint review, each party should answer questions honestly and with details, as it will help the company create more realistic goals in future sprints. Because team members are expected to contribute to the sprint review dialogue, it falls to the product owner and Scrum manager to explain to team members the business value offered by their work. So where does the sprint review go from here? Well, the next step is for everyone to use the feedback and takeaways from the conversation to plan ahead, typically under the direction of the product owner. The most important consequence of sprint review feedback is adjusting the backlog. As authority of the backlog within the organization, the product owner must weigh if feedback should affect backlog items. Adjusting the backlog is critical to maintaining a product roadmap, as even changing the priorities of backlog items can have massive effects on the product's development. So if the product owner plans on adjusting the backlog in response to feedback, they should use the sprint review to discuss the feedback in thorough detail. This post-feedback discussion typically revolves around product features. Discussing individual product features benefits every participant in the sprint review, as it broadens everyone's total understanding of the product. And it is also at this point of the sprint review that the product owner discusses the projected delivery dates for future product increments and updates those if necessary. Then the participants review the timeline, budget, and potential features in the company's future. And during this discussion, the stakeholders provide insight into how the marketplace has changed or been affected, as this could affect the company's future plans. And while planning ahead, the development team should discuss any tactical adjustments that they plan to implement into the next sprint. And although it seems natural to discuss any problems the team faced during the sprint, any talk of blockers faced by the development team should be limited during the sprint review. And instead, we recommend saving the challenges faced until the sprint retrospective when the external stakeholders are not present. And there you have it. That's how you can conduct a successful sprint review. And if you feel like you have a better understanding of the topic, make sure to go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content on how to build great products. And I'll go ahead and see you on some of those following videos. Cheers.